Good all. This will be the second video on how to make an authentic Viking era round shield. As you can see here, I have already done a bit of work on my shield since the last video, and this video will be about how to apply the backing and facing of linen and rawhide on the shield. Now, before we begin with the practical, I have rounded the edge of the shield here with sandpaper, and this is simply because a rounded edge will be stronger than a square edge in all respects, and you also get a thinner edge, which is very good when you are trying to read pressure from your opponent's shield or weapon. And as you can see here, I have already applied the backing of linen. Now, the reason I have already done this and I'm not going to show you how to do this is because I will show you in the next step how to apply the facing. It will be the same thing, only with the linen fabric it would have been easier than with the rawhide. Now, the reason why I am using both linen and rawhide is to be cost effective. We do know that in the Middle Ages a facing and backing of linen was used, and we think that a facing of rawhide was used in the Viking era, and some believe that you applied a backing and a facing of rawhide, and if I had all the money and patience in the world, I would do so. But a whole hide of rawhide, which I used for the rawhide pieces here, costs me about 900 Swedish kronor, and that would be somewhere like $100 or 90 euros. So to drive down the cost a bit, I used linen for one side, and I really wanted to use both a backing and a facing. Some people only use a facing, and by backing and facing I mean the covering area of the shield where it is closest to you. That's the backing, the back of the shield, and the facing is the part that faces the opponent. And I wanted to use both a backing and a facing to make a very durable shield, a shield that is as durable as possible, and to counteract the extreme warping that will occur from the rawhide facing. As you can see here, my shield now has somewhat of a taco shape, and this is simply because the hide glue that I use in the whole shield construction contracts when it dries. So here you can see the effect of just that. And the interesting part is that it is bent along the planking pattern, so to speak. I don't know if you can see this on the video, but the planks are glued in this fashion. So here's a plank, here's a plank, here's a plank, and in the joints between the planks it has curved, or maybe the planks themselves. And you will absolutely be able to counteract this simply with the handlebar that goes this way. This will counteract the curvature, but I felt that I didn't just want the curvature to be counteracted by a handle. I also wanted it to be counteracted with this linen. So there's the reason for why in this build we use linen and rawhide. Just to be perfectly clear, you could use linen on both sides. The shield wouldn't be as durable since rawhide is a super material. You could use only rawhide for the facing, you can use only linen for the facing, you can use rawhide for both sides, and that would be the strongest. I am settling here for the second strongest type, that would be a rawhide facing and a linen backing. So now we need to prepare the rawhide. As you can see here, I have already cut out the rawhide that I am going to use for the facing. I have also saved 3 1-meter strips, or just about 1 meter, for the edging. That will be in the next video. But both with the rawhide and the linen, you need to measure your shield and cut out so you have a little bit more. And you can see this on the linen fabric also, that it sticks out. And this is just to make sure that you're not wasting linen or rawhide, because if you do too small and it kind of contracts and you have like this wooden edge here, that wouldn't be very good for the shield. So cut it out. You can actually see here on the rawhide shield, rawhide facing, where I have measured the shield and cut maybe 2-3 centimeters outside that. And cutting rawhide is not easy, that is why we use it as a facing. So I would recommend what is it called, gardening shears, you know, the small, not the big shears, but the one-handed sécateur, it's called in Swedish, because an ordinary scissors wouldn't be able to cut this. You could do it with a knife, but it will take you forever. So try the small shears. Now we need to prepare the rawhide, and what I'm going to do, I'm not going to soak it in water overnight as I have seen a lot of people do it, because I think it will soak up too much water. What I will do is I will take it in the shower and just put some, like splash some warm water on it until it's a little bit more pliable. And here is the showered and cleaned rawhide. What I did was go over it with a sponge and some soap, and this helped me get rid of some of the remaining tissue on it. And as you can see here, the rawhide is very translucent, and this is a good time to address a point that some make, that Viking shields weren't faced with anything. They say that they have found paint fragments, archaeologists have found from Viking era finds, that they have found paint fragments on the wood of the shield. But as you can see here, the rawhide is so translucent that you could actually paint the wood with your pattern and with your paint, and then glue the rawhide on top of that, and still see the paint and the pattern, and that would actually protect your paint even better than just having paint exposed to the elements. So now we need to dry it off, because we are working with wood as a medium, and wood is very sensitive to getting wet. You can warp your shield even more, and you can develop cracks in your shield if you let it dry in the wrong way. So now we simply need to dry the rawhide off, and we will prepare the hide glue. Alright, now we need to prepare the hide glue. And I have already prepared some to get it in its gel form. So this is the hide glue that I bought, and you can see it's almost like sand. Sometimes when you buy hide glue you will get a powder-like substance. Sometimes you will get like granules that are maybe a couple of millimeters thick, so it looks like a tiny little cube. And what you need to do is you take some of the hide glue in a separate jar, and for this I filled it up around here and put water in it to make sure that everything was in contact with water, and it swelled right up here. So this is the amount that I used for the linen backing and the construction of the planks and the shield. So when you have soaked it, it becomes this gel-like thing. If we just take, it feels like a disgusting gummy bear, a little drier maybe. So, and it smells horrible. So what we need to do is we need to melt this down, and hide glue becomes active, or it becomes a glue around 50 to 60 degrees Celsius. So what we need to do is to heat it up. Let's just take some of this disgusting gummy bear mess and just put it in another little jar. Me and my wonderful wife, we save a lot of glass jars for different projects. So let's just take a good amount here, like so. And one important thing to remember is that this glue is it's protein from an animal source. I think it's collagen, and collagen gets broken down when it gets too hot. So we need to use a kitchen thermometer to make sure that it doesn't get too hot. And as you can see here, it is already too hot. It's around 70 degrees Celsius. So let's just take it off the stove here. And we just have to wait a while. I'll just add some new colder water, and we'll see. Alright, so it's beginning to drop to about 60 degrees. Let's just let it drop a little bit more. Alright, so now it's just below 60 degrees, and we'll just leave the little jar in here, and after a while it will have completely melted. And watching glue melt is almost like watching paint dry, so I will skip and spare you that. And here you can see what it begins to look like. I'm sorry about the lighting. I see here that the video is quite dark. I don't know how to fix that. But here you can see the glue. It's starting to look like glue. And there you have it. And here you can see even better what I meant about the rawhide being so translucent that you could see the paint through. Now this is unpainted, and I will paint the rawhide with linseed oil-based paint in a later stage. But here you can actually even see how the planking is put together. So you could absolutely have a shield that is painted on the wood and face it with rawhide, and you could still see it very, very clearly, even when it dries. Alright, so now it is time to apply the glue and the rawhide to the shield. Now, as you can see, my shield is slightly warped, so I will have to kind of correct it in between. And the best part about hide glue is that it becomes glue again if you apply heat. So if we realize afterwards that the rawhide has bubbles or that it is not smooth, we could simply take an ordinary iron and smooth it out. But here we go. So I'm just using a brush that I bought from Clas Ohlson as to not ruin my wife's nice painting brushes. And the glue will solidify fairly quickly, so you do not have all the time in the world. So what I like to do is to just apply a little bit at a time and smooth it out real good. And when you smooth it out, it will solidify fairly quickly. And it takes a little bit longer for it to solidify and become the bond when you use rawhide versus when you use linen, because linen all fabric is just tight nets, and this rawhide here doesn't really breathe that well. One other thing, it is important to have the outside of the rawhide out, and this side is where the would be the outside of the animal, and this would be the inside. And you can feel it. If you handle rawhide, real rawhide, you will know exactly what I mean. You can't really mistake it for anything. So when we have done a little part here, we can just fold this back and apply more glue. We should get some weight on here, so let's just take my old toolbox. There. Alright, so just try to move a little bit at a time and apply more glue, fold it back and just apply more glue and work your way through the shield. And that is boring, so I will not show you that. You get the principle here. And on a small note, just be creative with the weights. As you can see, I have had to be here. Alright, so this is what the shield looks like after it has been glued with the rawhide facing, and I didn't wait too long until I removed all the weight and began to distribute the glue under the rawhide more evenly, because I realized that I had not been as careful as I should. But that doesn't really matter. What I simply need to do is to take this piece of paper. I don't know what it's called in English, but surely you will recognize it. It's used for baking and stuff. And then I take my trusty iron and simply heat up the glue under the rawhide, and then I take something. You could use a handle for a paintbrush or a piece of wood, and just press out the glue more evenly. There you can see a good example. Alright, so now we are done with spreading the glue under the rawhide covering. And as you can see, I am currently weighting it down. And a little note about how wood warps. In the beginning of the video, we saw that the shield was in some kind of a taco shape, and this was because when we glued linen with hide glue on this side, and the hide glue dries, the hide glue actually contracts. And when we then apply the hide glue and the rawhide, we add moisture on this side, and moisture expands wood, so it warps even more. Now, when the hide glue dries, it should pull the shield into a somewhat level way, and that is the final shape that we want to have. And that is also why I wanted to apply both a facing and a backing to help with the warpage. Now, the warping will be counteracted by the handlebar, absolutely. But for now we need to weight the shield down, because if we just let it warp in whatever fashion that it wants, it may actually be under so much pressure from everything drying that the shield could just collapse in on itself, and then it wouldn't be a very good defense from when you're raiding England or whatever. So now we just have to wait. In my next video I will show you how to apply a rawhide edging. I will show you how to fasten the handle and the boss. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Tack så mycket. Ha en bra dag.